Hey everybody, it's Paul Ramsey, and I'm joined by Johnny Moran, who is presenting a 1-hour seminar at the 2017 NGH convention. The title is Fundamentals of Powerful Hypnotism Practice, and the subtitle is An Exploration Through the Scientifically Researched Key Principle of What Makes Successful Sessions Through the Lens of Hypnosis. It's a big title, Johnny. How are you?
I'm very well. And can I just say, you're very good. You're like one of those,
You can say that all you want. That's fine.
like one of those shock DJs. You know what you call it? Howard Stern.
No.
You're the Howard Stern of hypnosis, huh?
No. Hey, this has been such a treat already. You had me laughing before we got started here. I want to learn more about you. How did you get into hypnotism? Tell me your story.
Well, I was doing a life sentence, and basically it's pretty boring in jail, so I just started reading hypnosis books. No, actually, I got into it by chance, in the sense that I came from a business background. I started out, as a CPA, and then I got into running businesses. I got into pubs, nightclubs, hotels, and it just got to the stage where, when you get what you set out to get, there's a hole. And I had a building, and I started some meditation hypnosis in it. And I did a fair bit of Vipassana. I don't know if you know what that is. It's known as the Royal Marines of meditation. So basically, it's silent retreat. You go away. You can go for 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, 30 days. You go in, you hand over your phone, your keys, your wallet, and you meditate for 12 hours. No eye contact, no talking. And I suppose that process, I did it over a number of years, say over 15 years. And then you go through different phases as the stays get longer. It kind of really opened me to the power of the mind, because you're basically left with yourself. And, did you ever try having an argument with yourself? So you're basically, after a few days of that kind of, self-therapy, I suppose, you start realizing stuff, and you start, realizing that you're lying to or deceiving yourself or talking to yourself. And it's very interesting. And even I remember, I worked my way up over a number of years. The longest one I did was 30 days. And I can remember, say, halfway in, how the ego comes in, and basically I'm saying, isn't this great? I've done this 10 days and I haven't once thought about food. And the next thing, all I can smell is fish and chips. And, so for the next 2-3 hours, I can smell the salt. I mean, so I suppose that was kind of an introduction to the power of the mind. And then parallel to that, I started, I set up a couple of yoga studios, and I set up a room where we used to meditate. And actually, it was over at Bookies. You know what a Bookies is like? You know what a Bookie is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like think Vegas, but smaller.
Yeah.
Right? And we tried to meditate down, to tell the guy coming in, to put the bet, listen, don't do it. Go home, buy food for your kids. But it didn't work. But it did give me an introduction to the hypnosis, I suppose. And then what happened was, I decided to take a change in direction, and I went and I did a HDip, did a master's degree in psychotherapy, and then I became an accredited psychotherapist. And I suppose in psychotherapy, it's all about the mind, it's all about the unconscious. And I suppose my interest then in hypnosis, I suppose, fitted back into that.
Wow.
Yeah. Have I put you asleep?
No.
Why are you snoring?
God, you're first of all, you're just fascinating. Second of all, I can't think of a conversation I've ever had with anyone where all of a sudden they just said, well, I had a building. So, and I had a building. So, and then the whole idea of the meditation is fascinating. And I've done several interviews with other folks, and that's been a fantastic thing that I've come to again and again. But so I kind of want to ask you 20 questions about that, but I want to stay focused on your topic. Tell me more about this idea of a scientifically researched key principle of what makes successful sessions.
Yeah, and this is the thing, the basics, the common factors of all successful therapy, are proven in research to apply across the board, and there is much there in hypnosis. So right from the start of the session, in terms of the greeting, person coming in, you know, how you meet the client, what you observe about the client. And obviously in hypnosis, from the time you meet the client, you're writing the script. You know, you're getting information for the script. So yeah, so, you know, all the boxes are ticked that apply to other therapies are there in hypnotherapy, you know? And it's kind of like, I suppose this whole thing about the power of it is it's there longer than most therapies, actually. When you go back as far as Sigmund Freud. He was knocking around with it with a dude in Paris. I think it's Charcot was his name.
Yeah.
Joseph Burr way back, you know. But yeah, it's just like the words or maybe the language are different, but the fundamentals is probably hypnosis has been there all along, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me a little bit more, Johnny, about, I mean, I'm trying to, I want to be, I haven't been very articulate today and I apologize, but I'm trying to get my head around is this idea of like, there aren't many people who would devote, I mean, that's a serious devotion to talk about going on these retreats where it's 5, 10, 15, 20 days. I mean, to put that kind of time, look at what that helped you do in terms of raising your own awareness and learning about yourself. Why move into this, you know, what takes you away from that to hypnosis really? Like, why not just stick with that? Seems like there's a lot that you learned from that.
Yeah. So what are you asking me? Why didn't I stay in retreat?
Well, not so much, not much why not stay, but like, where do you think hypnosis has a value maybe that's distinct from the value of doing those other things, having those other experiences that you had?
Yeah, well, I think they're very interlinked, I suppose, you know. I mean, in a retreat like that, in a retreat, an isolation retreat, when you're left with yourself, you're left with your own mind. And I suppose you do, you know, eventually the cognitive battle quietens down and, you know, you can actually catch yourself deceiving yourself and you can catch how tricky the mind is. And in fact, one of the things that was fascinating coming out of those retreats was how your eyesight changed, your hearing changed, all the key senses.
Really?
In fact, I remember one time coming out after one and I was in Birmingham and I couldn't believe the misery on people where you're actually coming out and you've seen people's faces and you're going, oh my God. So it's like you're isolated for a while, but the outward expression. So I think there's so much conditioning going on. And I suppose the link would be, I think you get back with quiet calmness. And when the mind eventually has to stop, I think you get back closer to the real conscious, which in this mad world we live in is called the unconscious, you know. When actually really we're getting back, I think we're getting back closer to ourselves, you know. Yeah. You know, are you naturally bald or did you shave your head?
Well, both technically.
Both? Yeah.
I'm naturally bald up here, but I shave it because around here
Can you see my head? Can you see my head?
Yeah, I've got your thing going on. There you go.
It's a fine one, isn't it? But when I tell you, one of the things I tried to do was to actually meditate my hair to grow back, you know? So I put deep concentration, you know, on growing it back, but that didn't work. So,
no, I'm sorry to hear that because that would have been, you could have been
fantastic.
A lot of people on that. That would have been fantastic.
Well, I'm still working on it. I haven't given up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I like this in your description in the guide for your seminar says, getting in touch with, connecting, engaging with the common factors of all successful sessions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really like that. I mean, I think when people talk about scripts, right, or they go to get additional training, what people are really looking for is some version of that, right? People want to have a consistent sense that they can produce results. If I follow this formula, if I follow this approach. Yeah. But that's not so much what you're saying there. It doesn't seem like you're being that rigid. You're more talking about themes, common factors.
I'm talking about common themes, and I suppose the central theme I will be saying, or I would be inviting people to contemplate and explore is yourself, like you're bringing yourself. I think that can be a big pitfall where people try to be another hypnotist, because actually you got to bring yourself. And I think it's back to a belief system. Like, why am I not bringing myself? Because I believe somebody else can do it better. But actually I think confidence is a big thing. I mean, if you don't believe in yourself, how can you expect somebody else to believe? And in the common factors of successful therapy, confidence is a big thing. Expectation is a big thing. Like, you talk about being met, congruence, empathy, interest. These are all fundamental skills. But I think what makes them really powerful is, the genuineness of bringing yourself. So, whatever way you are, whatever way you speak, whatever accent you have, you use that, and you see people pick that up. 70% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's a wonderful kind of core approach. And I feel like if I keep pushing you on that anymore, I'm going to make you give away the central part of this. And so
No, that's it. I've done everything. That's all I have. That's it. You got everything.
If people want to learn more about you, Johnny, what's a good way for them to do that?
Well, they can check the website, openmindscenter.ie. We're on the web, but yeah, that's one way. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to coming over, and I suppose the event is such a great event. Like, the people that are there, the kind of spirit. Like, there's a lot of people there proud to be hypnotists, confident in being hypnotists. Yeah, so it's a very welcoming event, and you can learn so much. There's so many different guys there, and different areas. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it a lot. I think I've learned myself from some great old timers. Like, Ron Esinger was my trainer as an instructor. And again, Ron's approach would be very much, don't be a Ron Esinger, be yourself.
Yeah.
And even getting bogged down in all this technical stuff about depths and everything, Ron says, look, it's about the client being open to suggestion and believing the suggestion. And a lot of that stuff, a lot of good scripts come from that first moment when you meet them at the door, when you walk in. Are you listening? Are you observing? Making the connection and speaking in the language of the client, and meeting the clients. You're talking about, and we even talk about Carl Rogers. We're going back to the fundamentals of all successful therapy. We're going back to meeting the client, being congruent, being non-judgmental, the same fundamentals, and they're in hypnosis as much as any other therapy, But I'd like to see hypnosis being more like, it's everywhere, man. I'd like to see us reclaiming our power, I mean, I'd like to see the world needs hypnosis to be used for what it was meant to be used for, which is actually to help people, to serve people, not to convince them to buy something they don't need. And I mean, I think one of the reasons why hypnosis isn't talked about so much is because so many of us are living in a hypnotized state, where we're, so that thing about, if people became more aware, they might connect to something else and make different decisions. So as practitioners and as clinicians, we have a powerful tool at our resource. The word is not bandied about as a therapy as much as other therapies, because it's actually mindfulness. What is mindfulness? I mean, it should be called mind emptiness, not mindfulness. But what is it? It's deep relaxation. It's the basis of hypnosis. It's focused attention and deep relaxation. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think we need to be proud. We need to be strong. I think the world needs us. The world needs hypnotism to serve, not to manipulate.
True.
To heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great.
Yeah.
Gosh, what a pleasure. Hey, you guys, just recapping fundamentals of powerful hypnotism practice, August 13th with Johnny Moran.